Hello, hello, and welcome to day one of the Write Great Songs Easily for Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge with our subtitle of pre-write. There's the of pre-write, not rewrite. So, hi, hello, welcome. Let's dive in. Day one is here today, live on YouTube. Here we go. Okay. Let's start with. Oh, I guess I should introduce. Hi, I'm Michael Ratty, musical theater writer guy, aka your musical theater writing coach. And day one of the challenge is, like I said, going to be live today on YouTube. However, days 2, 3, and 4, which will be Friday, Monday, and Wednesday, are going to be live as well, but they're going to be via a Zoom link so we can be in the room together. So if you have not yet signed up for the challenge, make sure to click that link, sign up with your email. That way you'll get the links for the Zooms, as well as the emails with the replays and anything else along the way. So make sure to do that. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get to it. Just so you know here today, friends, please be here live with me. Utilize that chat as you would like to. However, I will be sharing screen, so I will not be able to see the chat until I pause. But let's dive directly in to the beginning of this process. All right. Here we are, here we are, here we are. Lovely. All right, so let's dive in. Let us begin. Okay, so I just said Monday and excuse me, Wednesday is today, then Friday, Monday, and Wednesday. Here's the schedule. So that's going to be noon Eastern time, US Eastern time. So today is YouTube and Zoom. However, it is just me and the Zoom. That's how I'm streaming to y'all today. And then and we're doing that because we have to share sound, original sound, and share other things, and we will get that. So Friday, Monday, and then, like I said, we will wrap up day 4. Last year was a 3-day challenge that we ended up extending to 4. We're just going to do the 4 days this year. So next Wednesday, also at noon, all at noon Eastern. And if you missed the live, you'll get the replay email if you sign up with your email address. Here is our agenda. So today we are going to talk about the major problem, and we're going to start talking about the solution. And there will be some songwriting stuff we're talking about today too. Day 2 will be all about the form and the things that you need to know. And we will talk about the second part of songwriting, and we have to get that info done between today and Friday, because then you have to go off and write your things. So Monday, day 3, is going to be about putting it all together, and that will be song sharing and feedback. That will be the song sharing feedback day. So if you want to share your songs for feedback with me live in the Zoom room, that's your opportunity, friends. And hopefully you will all be excited to do so, and I'll have to like do it by lottery. That would be fun. And then day 4, next Wednesday, is going to be putting it all into practice. So that's going to be about answering your questions, because there will be questions. I guarantee you, every time I teach this curriculum, it's complicated. Well, it's not complicated, it's complex, different, right? It's simple, but it's complex. So it'll be all about answering your questions and talking about what your next steps are now that you'll know this info and have started to put it into practice with this songwriting challenge. So that is our agenda. As a reminder, feel free to utilize the chat. I will check in with the chat when I can. So let's begin with today's curric. The problem that I continually see, my friend, is that songwriters either get stuck in writing a first draft of their song because they don't have enough clarity to write the quality of song that they're aiming for, or they write that first draft and it doesn't satisfy them. And then they don't know where to go from there, where they went wrong, or how to achieve that high quality that they're looking for. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot to say here. The first of the things I would like to touch upon is Getting stuck while writing a song draft is extremely common. Even people who are well practiced at this can get stuck writing a song. The difference is the people who make it over that hump and continue and make it happen and get to that quality song that they were looking for from the start. Those are the people who have the information we're going to be talking about in this challenge and who are able to overcome that obstacle, get across that hill, and go. The people who do not have the info, generally speaking, end up just giving up or never continuing even into their musicals. I actually talked to a lot of people who are like, I got stuck on one song and I stopped for 4 years. Like, no, let me help you. And then this other piece, the first draft that doesn't satisfy, the analysis of what a song is and is not doing, what is working, what is not, is difficult to get under your belt until you're practiced at it. And that's something that what we talk about today and Friday will help us with the analysis piece so you can begin to analyze your own work. But a lot of this is just writing things and analyzing them, yes, but also analyzing other people's work. But what makes something high quality is a question that we have to ask ourselves constantly because it's getting different things depending on who the writers are, depending on what the show is, depending on what the song moment is. So it's all a little subjective at the end of the day. But these are the major problems that I see. There is, however, a way through it. And again, that's what we're going to be talking about in this challenge and also putting it into practice through actually writing a song. Like that is the challenge piece, right? I can stand here and teach Carrick all day. Y'all see me do it. If you're not new to the channel, which I doubt y'all are new to the channel. So any of the videos that I've created, the live streams that I do, I can teach curriculum, but it's the actual putting it into practice piece. That's what we're focused on here. Also, hi, hello, for all of you who are with me live. Feel free to pop into the chat, ask questions, say things. You're here with me live, and I appreciate you. So, moving on here, I do want to specify this applies to both composers and lyricists, as well as composer-lyricists. Everyone can take part in this. And I do want to also go the extra step and specify that if you want to write a song in collaboration with people during this challenge, I strongly suggest it. I encourage it. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. How are you going to meet those people? Such a good question. Chat, comments. That's a great way to start today. Is if you are here and you're like, I'm a lyricist, I'm looking for a composer for this challenge. Great. Feel free to say, hey, I'm a lyricist looking for, or I'm a composer looking for. It's a useful thing to get going now. And if you can connect after today, beautiful. If not, hey, you do have Friday as well, because we'll be covering part 1 of the songwriting curriculum, but you're going to want part 2 before you dive in and write your songs. So you'll be in the same Zoom room on Friday, which does make it a little bit easier. But if you are here and you are looking for a collaborator, please feel free to look for someone in the chat. Zero pressure to do so, but I think it's a good thing. All right. Oh, it's me. I always forget this slide is here, and then I get to it. I'm like, it's me. Hi. Yeah, as I said, I'm musical theater writer guy, aka Michael Ratty, aka your musical theater writing coach. This slide's outdated. So no, it's not. I've had 3 of my musicals produced. Yes, that is true. Although I've had 4 productions of my musicals, which is also lovely and wonderful. And I'm the founder of the Musical Theater Writing Collective. I teach courses. The flagship musical theater writing workshop course is a 20-week book and beyond, which is relatively new for you book writers out there, because I know you exist in this group here. That's a 12-weeker. I also do coaching, an accelerator program, all sorts of things, as well as like I'm writing a book on musical theater writing, like the entirety of the process. That'll be coming out. Turning that into video curriculum right now that lives in the collective, all this fun stuff. Fibonacci, you have no idea what you're doing here. I don't know what you're doing here either, but welcome. I'm glad you're here nonetheless. And I can see the chat. I was able to finagle it for now, my friends. So feel free to type things in the chat, y'all. I have I've had my work heard at on stage at the Gershwin Theater in a Broadway concert, 54 Below, had Broadway people sing my material. I was formerly trained in the BMI program many, many moons ago. And also, I've had plenty of informal training, done a lot of self-learning, and my frustration with the amount of self-learning writers have to do in this art form is why I've created everything I've created, including this channel and this challenge and all the things. I was a PA for Pasek and Paul for a year. That was a long time ago as well. Studied all sorts of things: composition, lyric writing, book writing, analysis from everywhere. And also, I work with people all around the world, which is really cool and fun. So that's a little bit about me if you're new to me. All right, I wanted to start by talking about this is a concept I created to help provide clarity to the songwriting process, and that is the 4 layers of a musical theater song. So let's talk about it, because this is kind of the crux of everything that we will be utilizing for the pre-writing process. Because, my friends, if you can plan out what you're going to do before you start to do it with the right intentions, the right amount of depth, and answering the right questions, then you don't have to keep rewriting your songs over and over again to get them to do what you want them to do at the quality you want them to do it. So, there is that. Welcome, Louisa. Yay, I'm so glad you're here with us for a live. That's so wonderful. Um, so, we want to pre-write, not rewrite. Let's talk about the layers. So the first layer here, the top layer, I call the mechanical layer. That is your surface level layer. And this is where we're going to have to answer questions like, why is there a song here? I mean, hopefully that is done, like if you're writing a full show, that's done in your song spotting process. But just in case it isn't, and you're like, I just feel like there should be a song here. Why is there a song here? There always has to be a reason. That reason's going to be due to one of 3 things, or a combo platter of all of them, or any of them, which is something about the plot movement, something about the character development, but mostly, and this is the underlying thing of both those, it's going to be about the emotional arc for the entirety of the show, the piece. There's something there that we need to focus on. Which brings me to the next part of this question. What in the emotional arc of the scene and the overall song requires the song to start and get to where it gets to? So the concept of emotional arc, I could go on for days about this. In fact, I will in the book. But the idea of the emotional arc for the macro of a show is about the audience's experience. When we're talking about within a scene, there is emotional stake always, right? And if there's going to be a song inside a scene, there's a threshold of emotion at which, if we cross that threshold, a song has to start, and that song is going to bring us somewhere, right? And we have to know what that threshold is and why the emotion has lifted to that threshold in order for a song to start. So that's like one of the major central questions of the mechanical layer. But there's plenty of other questions. Hey, Abhishek, welcome. Oh, oh, it's so lovely that you're here with us. Yes, heck yeah, full-length show in New York. Um, Next set of questions here for the mechanical layer. Who are we with? Like, some of this is going to be super basic. Who are we with in this song? Literally, who's singing it and who else is on stage? And who are we following as the perspective character or characters? So, even if there are multiple people singing a song, there's usually one person or one way of thinking that's our perspective in for the audience. It's just good to know who's singing, who's on stage, and whose way in are we using. Next question here would be, where does the song begin in terms of the state of the world slash plot slash character, right? So as I said, we're going to have a song here because something's happening with the plot and or the characters, right? And we also need to know what's happening in the world of the piece. So we need to know, where is it going to start in those terms, and where do we need to be at the end? This whole idea of development of character or development of plot or both is extremely important. And sometimes the world changes as part of that, right? I mean, when when Alpha begins defying gravity, the world's in one state. When Alpha ends defying gravity, the world's in a very different state. So sometimes it really does have a big effect on the world. And like, this is also in part about the structure of the show and like how much material are we covering, what is the song placement, all those things. But these are good to know. What is actually happening during the song? Specifically, what is physically taking place during the song? Writers, y'all seem to leave this one out a lot, and it baffles me. Musical theater is a visual art form with an in-person experience, right? I mean, it's visual, it's audio. There's been a hair just driving me nuts. Guy. It's visual, it's auditory, of course, but we have to know what's physically taking place. Sometimes what's physically taking place is nothing, and that's okay. It can be a song that's like a ponderance. But even then, I wonder, like, what does that look like when it's placed on the actor? However, most of the time, musicals have songs that have things physically taking place on stage. We may be moving somewhere. Someone is doing a physical action. We have to know what's happening physically. Because it's not that easy. I'm writing everything down now. Lovely, Louisa. I'm so glad that you are able to be here and to get the info. Um, so the physical journey, then we have the emotional journey and or the mental journey. I'm gonna group them together for the moment. They are kind of separate, but what is the emotional journey for the character singing? And what's the emotional journey for the audience are things to consider as well. What should we be feeling from the beginning of the song to the end of the song? What are the highs and lows going to feel like? Which is probably going to be mirrored by the emotional journey of the prospective character or characters who are singing the song. And or the mental journey. Sometimes we have a song that's purely about processing something and coming to a decision. And the logic of that is important to know and to map out, right? So what is actually happening during the song physically, emotionally, mentally? And then the last bit of the mechanical layer. I know. There's a lot of things to consider here. What kind of song is it? Like, what is the goal at the end point of the song? Is this for a classic? Is this a convincing song? Or is this a song about acquiring something? Or about accomplishing something? Or overcoming something? Or is it about processing something? Or is it about expressing something? And of course, we have lots of fun little names for these different types of songs in musical theater. If you've not read Jack Viertel's book, The Secret Life of the American Musical, then I mean he talks about some of these different kinds of songs. Good book, worth reading for sure. So that's the mechanical layer. Do I have all these written down? Is a question I have. Nope. Good work, Michael. So we're just talking through these, is how it's going. That's mechanical layer. That's the top layer, the surface layer. This is more about to do with like the mechanics of what's happening in the story, hence mechanical. The next layer down is the heart of the song. And this is why I call it the core layer. There are four major questions to be answered together here before starting into the bottom layers. Okay, so question one is going to be, is this a thesis song or a game song? To clarify what that means, a thesis song is where someone is setting out to prove something. If any of you remember learning about Aristotelian arguments in school and how that is the foundation for our essay format, it's pretty much that, right? There's a thesis. There's something that someone is stating and they are setting out to prove it, and they will either succeed or they will fail. There a lot of songs in musical theater, the vast majority are thesis songs. So like an example I use in the flagship course is If I Loved You. And we go deep on that song, but we're not going to today. The idea of If I Loved You. What Julie Jordan is setting out to prove when she starts singing the If I Loved You chorus is, I don't love you. And here's how I know. She does not land that very well. She actually ends up disproving it to the audience. Versus a game song. A game song is where we have a central idea that we're playing with. So we're not proving anything. There's nothing to be proven. We're just having different perspectives or different ways of saying something that are fun. It's a game. So we're upping the stakes by upping the enjoyment factor, essentially, of the song, of the game, versus upping the stakes. And the thesis song is like, we have to prove this thing, right? And that ups the stakes. So a game song that I love is You're the Top by Cole Porter. And because like we're not proving that you're great, the other person's great. We're just having fun with the different ways that we could say that person's great. So, is it a thesis song or a game song? That's question one. Question two in the core layer is, what is this song truly about? Like, what is the main idea or the main concept when boiled down as far as it can go? Usually when I ask the question, what is the song about? People describe to me what's happening during the song, and that is different. That's mechanical layer stuff. What's the song about? So you likely here have to strip away characters' perspectives in order to answer this. So to go back to If I Loved You for a moment, what is the song If I Loved You about? Julie's kind of falling in love with Billy, right? Like that's pretty much what it's about, is the two of them love each other, even though they just met. Because musicals. Um, and like she's going out to prove she isn't, but she fails at that. So that's really what the song is about. What's it about at the base? All right, question three. What is the vehicle of the song? Now, I use the term vehicle because I like the clarity that vehicle provides. It is a thing, there's a structure that we're going to like get into and sit in, and we are going to go from point A to point B. And that is the song. It is going to take us there in a little structure that moves. You will hear other terms utilized for vehicle, like was the mechanic of the song, the framework of the song, the bicycle of the song, the game of the song. I find that last one particularly confusing because the game of a song is different from a game song. So I don't use it. I use a vehicle. So, what's the vehicle of the song? Essentially, what is who trying to do? Wait, what is who trying to do and how? That's so confusing to say that way. Someone's trying to do something. What is it? Who are they? And how? So this is something that's critical for comedy songs and charm songs to work. That we need crystal clarity on what the game of the song is. The vehicle of the song. My goodness, Michael, get out of here. So the vehicle song of a song like If I Loved You is that. So don't forget, she's setting out to prove she doesn't love him. The song is about the fact that she does love him. But the vehicle by which she's going to set out to prove it is by saying the conditional. If I loved you, here's what it would look like. And the proof piece is, and it doesn't, even though we are watching her and going, yes, it does. That's exactly what it looks like. Are you sure you're aware of this? So the vehicle of the song here is conditionally proving through, if I loved you, it'd look like this. So that's what we're going to use as our way through the song. Okay, that's the vehicle. And then the one that everyone knows about was the hook. And the hook is usually based upon your answers to the previous three questions. So how does the hook connect and inform those previous three? So the hook of If I Loved You is If I Loved You, right? It is the first part of the conditional part of the vehicle, right? If I loved you, I would know because it looked like this. That is our core layer. Honestly, if you don't have the answers to those, the song will stall, I guarantee you. It always does. So it's literally not just a song about a theme if that theme isn't going to change something during the song to another narrative state. I'm not sure I entirely understand the question about a theme if that theme isn't going to change something during the song to another narrative state. Yeah, well, okay, I think I understand what you mean. Yeah, we're not just exploring a theme. You could do that in a game song. You could just explore without really moving anything from A to B. But at that point, I wonder, are we doing narrative work? Are we doing continuation of the book of the musical? Is there extra plot movement or character depth here? If no, then the exception in musical theater is we're in a moment of rest, which is something the audience needs occasionally. So I feel like you could explore thematically in a song for the purpose of a moment of rest. That's a possibility. Hopefully that answers your question. But generally speaking, no, we are developing plot or character, or both. Okay, now let's get to the layers that y'all know about already, and we will go deeper into these as we move forward here. But layer three, I call it the tangible layer because words feel much more tangible than like this heady stuff that we've been talking about. And that is our words layer. So knowing the people, okay, the people on stage who are singing, knowing who they are within this world with their perspective, what words and vocabulary are we then going to use in the lyrics? Like the way that I am in this world and speaking to the peoples is very different from, I don't know, probably anyone else in the world. But specifically, we could choose somewhere on the opposite side of the planet, someone who is completely and utterly different from me, right? They're going to have a different set of vocabulary than I will have, which means that their lyrics would sound different than my lyrics. The reason I'm bringing this up is in part because specificity is the key to everything, but also because oftentimes musical theater writers will end up with a score that all sounds like it's supposed to be sung by the writer. Like every song sounds like them, not like the specific individual characters who are singing. So we really want to make sure that we are paying attention to who the person is, their place in the world, and their perspectives when we're creating a lyric. And all that is kind of informed by the stuff we've talked about already. Okay, so knowing that all the words have to somehow tie back to the one thing that the song is about, which is true. I didn't give a preface for that. My apologies, everybody. In musical theater, scenes are about one thing and one thing only. Songs are about one thing and one thing only. So, if your song is about one thing and one thing only, all the words have to somehow tie back to that idea, which means that they're always really relating back to the hook. So again, in the song, If I Loved You, every single lyric choice in there is relating to that idea of if I loved you, I would know, and I don't, right? It's all about that. If we are going off on a tangent, we are suddenly giving lyrics that don't really do anything for the topic of the song, the one thing that's about, then we've gone off the rails a little bit. And we don't want to do that. Hey, Lisa. Yes, from Asheville. Love it. Welcome. Um, I love structure and frameworks. Come with me. I will give you all the frameworks. Okay. My last thing for the words layer is, so we know who they are and how they speak. We know how all the words are tying back to the hook. Therefore, because if you notice, we haven't talked about structure yet. Therefore, what structure choice makes the most sense with what's being said? And this is something to talk about with your collaborators. I mean, talk about all of this with your collaborators, please, my goodness. But especially this piece, because the structure is going to be important. And we can't always just decide our structure based off the answers to the core layer. Sometimes you can. Sometimes it's crystal clear, like, thesis song, and it's gonna happen real fast because the what we're saying is actually pretty small. It's not grandiose in any way. Okay, we can do an AABA 32 bar chorus. Neat. But here's really in the words layer, this is where that decision often comes. It's like, okay, this person is particularly verbose. And they're going to talk in circles because that's how they talk in this world. But they are proving something along the way. And they are going to fail at proving it because they're going to have talked themselves in too many circles. That doesn't sound like a 32-bar chorus song to me. That sounds like a different structure. Maybe that's a verse chorus structure. Maybe that's a contemporary structure like the macro AABA. I don't know. Or maybe you make up a structure for it, which is also a fun thing to do. But the words often drive the structures. All right, and let's talk about that last layer, the music. So this is the underneath layer, the layer that audience members love to listen to, but don't think too hard about, and thank goodness. because this is where we get a lot of things that kind of live in the subconscious for the audience. So, first thing to note is what is not being said in the words or made apparent in the mechanics that the music is going to either clarify or add. So music can clarify for us things that don't feel clear with just words alone, or just like the mechanics alone, or even if the mechanics and the lyrics aren't together doing enough information. Sometimes music clarifies for us like what someone's thinking or feeling, or how we're supposed to feel about something in this moment in time. Or they're adding to it. Music is a wonderful tool for giving more information beyond all the other info you're receiving. And that's one of my favorite ways to do it is what is not being said, put it in the music. AKA, you can go to the next question, which is what is the subtext? Sometimes the words are saying one thing, but the music says something completely different. Why? Well, it's because the music is usually the truth. The words that someone says in a musical, if they don't match the tone of the music, it is the words that are what the person, the character, is actively thinking in their conscious brain, whereas subconsciously there's other stuff going on. Maybe they're lying to themselves, maybe they're not aware of something, but the music informs the audience. That's the subtext. So is that subtext providing an opposite to the words? Is it giving more depth, extra insight? Is it revealing a truth we don't already know? Wonderful question, Silence. And then the last question here in terms of music is how does the music contribute to the dynamic between the characters, the actions being taken, the emotional tones, the atmosphere? Essentially, like the things on stage. How is the music contributing to the dynamic of the things on stage? So, for instance, like an easy one in a dance piece. If people are dancing while they're singing, the music better be giving them something to dance to, right? That's a real easy one. Versus if we have a love battle between two people, and at the end we know they're gonna make out. I guess they're gonna kiss, not make out. Jeez, Michael. But how does the music provide a sense of that dynamic as they come closer and closer together to reach that moment by the end? Or in terms of atmosphere, let's say it's a spooky moment. We're almost in spooky time, and I'm excited for that. So spooky moment. If it's a spooky moment, how does the music build out an atmosphere that is eerie or that sets the audience on edge or gives us a sense of something supernatural occurring, right? We can provide so much to enhance what is visually occurring in that mechanical layer through the music. Music can do so many wonderful things. Now, to go to the emotional piece for one moment, something I talk about a lot is, and I don't think we focus on this enough. We need to. Well, I guess we don't need to, but I think we need to. Music is vibration. Sound is vibration, right? It is happening through the air, comes to our ear, and our brain translates it. And we're like, haha, music, it's pretty. Or not pretty. But that is vibration through the air that resonates across our entire body. It doesn't just happen here. What else resonates in our body through vibration? Like an energetic vibration. That's emotion. So when music makes us feel emotional, whether that's sad, happy, ecstatic, angry, dancy, whatever it is, whatever the emotion is, music resonates in the body similarly to the way that emotions resonate in the body, which means music translates often in your audience's body as emotion. They may not even be aware of it, but it's something that we as writers have to be aware of as well. And that is a whole thing I could go on a diatribe about, but I'm not going to do that today because it's already 12:30. I have examples. Okay, I have examples, and we got to get your the beginning of the challenge going. Got to get your assignment, the first part of your assignment posted to you because you're gonna have some things to do before Friday, friends. And then Friday, really, we'll dig into the rest of the songwriting piece. Hopefully, you'll find a collaborator if you want a collaborator to write with over the weekend. If you're going alone, also cool. I will tell you how do we do that as well. But if you're just writing music, just writing lyrics, you're still good to go. You don't have to write in collaboration. You don't have to write both music and lyrics. All of you can practice this. Okay, So those are the 4 layers of the song. Here we go. So the big underlying problem here, as you can see across all those layers, is a lack of planned crystal clarity. Oftentimes people will plan and have clarity, but there are major gaps. So it's not crystal clear what's occurring, therefore the song gets muddy. Or people will not plan, and then we will not end up with crystal clarity because there wasn't planning, so things kind of came out hodgepodge. I am someone who began writing very innately, I guess. Like, it came naturally to me to write music with sung words, which was cool, neat, great. But a lot of my early songs were like, okay, that's good. I'm not sure what it's doing because I didn't know how to plan it out in order to find the crystal clarity. I just kind of went by the seat of my pants, which nothing wrong with that. Just means you have to do more rewriting. We're trying to avoid rewriting. So, oh, before we get to the songwriting challenge part 1, we'll get there. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me stop my share for a second because I want to put on my original sound to do some examples. Oh my goodness. All right. Right, great. Let's do some examples. If you were in the songwriting challenge last year, we're doing the same progression, friends. Okay, my original sound should now be on. You should be able to hear all this. Yes, and that was pretty. I know, thank you. Okay, I'm going to use some examples from my own work. Remember how I said I didn't have a lot of planning and some lack of crystal clarity? Haha, let's go through a progression. So, I'm going to play 3 versions of the same song moment in one of my shows and show you how it progressed through lack of planning, which kind of gave a lack of clarity, into, aha, we are planning, but didn't quite answer all the questions along the way, and how that kind of stopped clarity from happening, especially those core layer questions, and then the final version. So you can hear a nice 1, 2, 3 on this. So, this no surprise to anyone who's a regular here on the channel, I'm going to use material from The King's Legacy, because, hey, that's been around for a while, which means I have a lot of drafts, and a lot of songs on the cutting room floor. Okay, so, if you're not familiar with The King's Legacy, it is a show about Anne Boleyn and her daughter Elizabeth I, and one of the tricky things about this show has always been Henry, King Henry VIII. He is both Anne Boleyn's love interest and also the villain of the piece. That was a really hard balance to strike, especially because even though the show is about Anne and all the wonderful things that she did and how she passed on legacy to Elizabeth I and so many wonderful things, Henry is still the king, which means a lot of things only occur plot-wise, mechanics of plot, because King said something. Ugh. Made him such a pain in the tush. That's right, I said it. King Henry VIII is a pain in the tush. Or a pain in the neck. That was more appropriate. I should apologize for that joke, but I won't. Okay, so early on the show, development. This is going to be draft 1 for the reading I did. First reading I did at Random Access Theater, through Random Access Theater Company here in New York, 2013, summer 2013. Wow, that's a long time ago. That's over 12 years ago. My goodness. So this was Henry. We're going to use Henry for a moment here. For this whole example. Henry's character establishment song was originally called The King's Legacy. So the show's title is ironic. His legacy is not what he wanted it to be at all. He wanted a boy to hand on the throne to. That was his big goal. It's here. Boy, have throne. I did it! And his first wife of, at this point, 23 years, has had a lot of stillbirths, miscarriages, and 1 daughter. So it's not working out well for him, and he's contemplating what to do about it. And then he has a jousting accident, which really puts his mortality into view in a way it hadn't been yet, because he's in his mid-30s. In the 1500s, that meant something. So, right after the accident, he is, in this version of the song, speaking to his best friend, in that version of the show, Charles Brandon, and he sings this song called The King's Legacy. By the way, I had an illness that my voice isn't fully recovered from, so I'm going to flip into my head voice a bit here. I will try to take the volume of the piano down when I do so you can hear the lyrics. But here's this version of the song. I could have died today, Charles. Don't you understand? I was unseated. How can I rest? My life was in the balance, and now I can never rest, not until my lineage is secure. A daughter, not a son, that's all my wife could bear. If I'd have been undone, I'd have left no heir. Today I vow to make secure my legacy. I swear I won't allow my line to end, I guarantee. I shall raise a son on high, all shall bend a knee and cry, a king to reign all kings is nigh. Charles, I could have died today. The other guy sings now randomly, but you didn't. He had lines before. Why is he singing? I don't know, I have questions. It could have happened, I shall not delay. I'll pray for a son. I shall send up a prayer on this cursed day. No, I swear I shall not leave this world without ne'er having given all England a long-lasting male tutor. Last word was heir, and then there's an outro? Why is there an outro? I have so many questions about that song. Like, not to pick on younger Michael, but like, questions, right? This was not played. At least not played not very well. I mean, is there a chord progression even happening? He's angry. We get that he's angry, but in terms of the planning process here, first of all, why did I choose to write in G flat? That's a question we should all be asking, because that was mean. But also, what is Henry really trying to do here? Is he actively processing that he needs a son? Yeah, he's kind of doing that. Mostly it feels like a declaration to Charles that he needs a son, which Charles already knows. So, but then, okay, if we go along that idea for a second, that the song is about the fact that Henry almost died. Henry needs a son. First of all, there's not a hook in here, so there's that. But also, what is his logic? Is he proving that he needs a son? Well, no, we know that. He knows at the top of the song. So what's he trying to prove? Is he proving he's gonna get it? I don't know. What's the action he says he's gonna take? He says he's gonna pray. Does praying beget a son? Is there something I don't know about reproduction and anatomy? Somebody tell me. It's not going anywhere. It's not really doing anything. It's just angry men being angry. Other questions I have, and don't get me wrong, I think the music is pretty, but we have a key change on that. I'd have left no air. That one makes sense to me, right? This. I'd have left no air. That's important. The air is important. But then, once we're in that key, we stay in that key, and we switch meters. We go to the 6/8 on the I shall raise a son on high, all shall bend a knee and cry. Why? Why are we in this weird, like, circus waltz feel that's written in 6/8? Doesn't really make any sense. I get he's kind of, like, mad about stuff, but, like, he's got to be doing more than just be mad, right? This song doesn't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere. And, again, does it have a chord progression? I have questions. Sorry, younger Michael. Okay, let's fast forward a year. Yes, less than a year, I guess. 9 months? Second version of The King's Legacy happened at the Emerging Artists Theater Festival, Abhishek. JT, thank you for joining me in the joke. R.I.P. Anne. So, Emerging Artists Theater Festival, 2014. I didn't expect to get into the festival, but they last minute had a slot drop, and so 6 weeks beforehand, they're like, "Hey, do your show." And I was like, "Cool." Wait, I need to do rewrites. I have 6 weeks? They were like, "No, because you have to rehearse it." And I was like, "No." Okay. So I rewrote the script and about a third of the score in 3 weeks, and then did rehearsals and put the show up in 3 weeks. Wild experience, my friends. Wild, wild, wild. But one of the major things I was trying to do was to change Henry's character establishment song to really make it clear what he's after and why Anne is the answer. Because in his mind, that has to be true for the show to work. And so the second version of the song is called A Legacy. It's not going to sound anything like the other one. It was a complete and utter rewrite. I may have gone too far in a different direction, and also keep an eye on structure here, friends. Okay, and this Henry was, I guess, a bit soft. Other one was a bit hard, this one's a bit soft. I did find a middle ground eventually. So this is A Legacy. We have I see palaces. Oh, same spot here, just after the joust, but now he's talking to his advisor, Cardinal Wolsey. I see conquered land. I see treasures here. I lied. It's still Charles. Why? Charles, can you see? A man is given but one chance, a chance to build upon his name. 7 English Henrys came before me, each one of his fame. A legacy. A man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can't ignore a legacy. I did not die, I am here with a second chance. That shine upon his deeds. I vow to beautify the country. I vow to conquer lands for England. I vow to multiply our coffers. I vow to leave behind an heir. Yes, I vow to leave behind a legacy. Okay, alright, it got better, right? Like, this is a better song. But we have questions, yes? At the end of a song, we shouldn't have questions. That means there wasn't clarity. So first and foremost, why is it about so many things? Right, he says it's about a legacy, which means that we have to define what legacy is to this man in order to have this whole thing make sense. Okay, and also structurally, it's pseudo-AABA, and we'll talk about structure soon. But we begin with that verse, right? I see palaces, conquered land, treasures here. That's a bad lyric. There's a lot of bad lyrics in here. Okay, so why is legacy palaces and conquered land and treasures? And if that's the 3 things that a legacy is, and if that's what the like vehicle the song is defining legacy, and those are the answers, why are we saying it in the verse? Right? Come on, Michael, get out of here. But then we go into a man is given but one chance, a chance to build upon his name. 7 other Henrys came before me, each one of his fame. So legacy is about being remembered, is what we say. Then a man is made of flesh and bone, bones of those who came before. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can ignore a legacy. Okay, so it outlives you. Okay, those 2 things are on theme. We are here. Instead of doing a B section, we do a long interlude? Michael, I did not die. I'm here with a second chance. Yeah, and I vow here and now I will advance. I will advance. Okay, what does that mean here? A man can build beyond the stars. Okay, sure, that's his legacy. The stars that shine upon his deeds. Okay, deeds could be legacy. I vow to beautify the country. Why is that legacy? You didn't tell us anything about that. Why is that legacy? Conquer lands for England. Okay. But like that could be reconquered. Beauty fades. I vow to multiply our coffers. Hey, Dad handed you a lot of money and you spent it, so why is that legacy? I vow to leave behind an heir. Oh, wait a second. It's that one. Why is that a footnote? I have vowed to leave behind a legacy. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's so close, but so not there. Why is the heir a footnote? we start by talking about things that outlive us and about death. But you have to hand it to someone. And the possibility of Anne bearing you a son is why you go after her and marry her. Clarity. I missed the boat. Not to mention, like, musically, it's pretty, but it wasn't as interesting dramatically. We're going to do the version that's more interesting. Okay. So, that was versions 1 and 2. Then we finally get to the right version. And this has been the song since, I think, 2016. So, it's been a hot sec. But this is the version that's in the show. Because once I got it, and I didn't have to revisit it, which is great. In development, friends, once you get it, and boy, is that useful. Alright, let's take a look-see here at this last version, and then we will go over what y'all are doing for your songwriting challenge, and we will go from there. Alright, so, no longer talking to Charles Brandon. I'm correct on this one this time. This is with Cardinal Wolsey. It is just after the jousting accident, which, by the way, is now on his birthday. It was a birthday celebration. I think he's turning 36 on that day. And he almost died. And he's in pain. And he's angry. And here we go. A man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can't ignore a legacy. A man is given but one chance, the chance to build upon his name. 7 other Henrys came before me, each one of his fame, his legacy. My father took this kingdom with his hands. When all seemed lost, Henry Tudor won. He gave to me these peaceful, thriving lands. Damn it all, now I need a son. A man can choose to be a fool abandoning all care. I cannot continue to be reckless, or I will despair. My legacy. There's a short bit of dialogue, and then we continue. I did not die. I am here with a second chance. And I vow here and now we will advance. A man can build beyond his stars to give his son and heir the world. No more will I squander all my riches. No more will I risk my life for nothing. No more will I settle for a daughter. I will have a son to be my heir. Yes, I avow my son will be my legacy. That's clearer. Yeah? Alright. What works? Such a good question. Thank you for asking. First of all, flipped some of the lyrics around. We're starting with the idea of death, right? He almost just died. He's physically having a wound, bandage. So, a man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. Ah, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. And I'm glad it's coming through. How embarrassing would that be if it didn't? So, almost died. We start with the physical body. Mortal men can die, legacies live on. A man's given one chance. Okie dokie. We haven't wasted it yet. So, one chance to build upon their name, to outlive. Great. Legacy. Musically speaking, we start with quiet with movement, a tritone. There's something about it that says, uh-oh. halting danger, right? We build on the second one, right? Slight development of the music. Also, on Legacy, we have an extra couple beats hanging before we move on to the next section. These things feel like they're important. Something is being shifted in the air, in him, in the world, because he's king, right? Okay, now we have a true B section. Thank goodness, Michael. Thank goodness. My father took this kingdom with his hands. Oh, Dad. Oh, this is personal. This has to do with Dad. Dad took the kingdom, gave it to him. It was peaceful and it was thriving, which means, therefore, I need a son to hand it to. Oh my God. I love clarity of an argument. My goodness. Then, a man can choose to be a fool. A new A section in here to wrap up a 32-bar chorus before we move on. A fool abandoning all care. Oh, you're throwing things away. I cannot continue to be reckless. Aha, where we've been, or else I will not get the thing I'm after. But we're not done yet. We have more to say, right? He says, life is a gift and I will not waste it. I did not die. We do our interlude section, and this is prettier this time and has some actual development. We change registration a bit. Sounds like it's actually building to something, which is our final arrival at that final long extended A section at the end. A man can build beyond the stars. He starts the same way. To give his son and heir the world. We're defining what that means now. We did take away a lyric something right there to make it happen, though, which means something for his brain. It means a forward movement. No more will I squander all my riches. Now we're saying what we're not going to do. No more will I risk my life for nothing. No more will I settle for a daughter. I will have a son to be my heir. We have defined a son and heir. What it is, it equals legacy, right? Yes, I avow my son will be my legacy. Oh my God, the crystal clarity. Thank goodness. To be fair, I was young, and it took time, and I know a lot more now, which is great. But, that is a huge, huge difference, and that makes sense. Okie dokes. Now, we don't need my original sound on anymore. Hopefully that all makes sense to y'all. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Okay, let's talk about your challenge. Here we go, sharing my screen, coming back. All right, so the part one of the challenge here, mes amis. First part of the Songwriting challenge is to choose one of 3 specific moments in 3 different fairy tales for which you are going to be writing a singular 32-bar chorus song. And we will talk more about the 32-bar chorus on Friday. That's kind of the next part of the curriculum, so you know what's up. We're choosing the shortest and, I won't say easiest to write, but the shortest and most clean, clear, efficient song structure for this challenge so that it's not a huge lift over the weekend for you to write your materials. So if you don't yet know what a 32-bar chorus is, you just heard an example of it. I just said that was an AABA song. I'll give a quick rundown of the 2 major types in our next session, and then you get to choose. Okay. So one of 3 fairy tale options. So once you choose your fairy tale option, you're going to need to make some decisions by answering a first set of questions that we will get to in a moment that writers often leave out, which hit on those layers of the song. So the 3 fairy tales you are going to choose from. Heck yeah, fairy tale. Yeah, get it, Rain. 3 fairy tale options are Hansel and Gretel, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, or the 3 Little Pigs. You'll be writing a 32-bar chorus song for a specific moment. I'm going to tell you what that moment is here. So if you choose Hansel and Gretel, this is the moment where the kids have just overheard Dad and Stepmom talking about the plan to bring the kids into the woods and leave them there. Their father wasn't happy about it in the conversation, but he does agree. So in the moment after that, you are writing a song for Hansel and or Gretel in reaction to / looking forward from that moment, okay? Goldilocks and 3 Bears. So this is the moment when Goldilocks first comes upon the house, hailing the residents without a response. You can choose how she hails the residents, just before making the decision to enter. So it's between house hello and going in. What happens in the moment before? That's the song. And then for the Three Little Pigs, if that's your choice, it is the moment when Mother Pig has just sent the three little pigs out into the forest to make their own way, having realized she can no longer feed and support them. You can write a song for Mother Pig in this moment, as she just did that dirty deed, or you can write it for the pigs, or one of those three pigs. Okay. I'm going to encourage you to make this your own. Decide who these characters are in your version of the story. Give them a more fleshed out background and backstory using the original tale kind of as a frame, as a starting place, but like truly make this your version of the story. Things you're going to need to know are when and where are we, right? Fairy tales live in this nebulous world on purpose, but you get to make more of a decision there. And you can be as specific or as vague as you would like to with this. As a reminder, if you want to write in collaboration, do show up live if you can on Friday so you can ask in the chat and exchange contact info with each other in the Zoom room on Friday. That's a great way to find a collaborator for this. But if you're going to write on your own, music, lyrics, or both, that's also okay. All right, so once you decide on one of those three moments here, and like if you need a refresher, come back to the replay and just rewatch this info here. Okay. And also, it'll be in your email too. If you signed up for the challenge, you will get an email. I think it goes out, scheduled to go out like 3 p.m. that will have this info in there as well. So make sure you sign up with your email friends. Okay, so then once you have your chosen story and you know what you're writing, these are the questions to answer. And there will be more come Friday, but this is what we're starting with. So what is the scene about? Truly about? Who's involved? Where are we? When in the arc of the scene will this song take place? Right? And what justifies moving into the song from the dialogue? A lot of choices to make here, friends. Where are we when the song begins, and where are we headed? Like, where are we getting to by the time the song ends? What is the song about? That one thing. What action needs to take place during the song? Essentially, answer the core layer questions. What characters are achieving what objectives throughout the song? What is their tactic or set of tactics? Do they succeed or fail? Essentially, those core questions, right? What is the song about? Truly, when you strip everything away. What is the vehicle of the song? Is it a thesis song or a game song? And then what's the hook? You're going to want to know the answers to all four of those. They are extremely important. And then on day 2, on Friday, we will discuss the 32-bar course formats and make a whole bunch of new decisions based on a deeper set of questions, which will speak directly to the writing of the music and the lyrics. So we're starting off in this kind of lifted challenge here from the zoomed out lens to begin with. And that is today. That's what we did today. That's the thing. So I'm going to stop my share here. If anyone does have a question, a burning question about part 1 of the songwriting challenge, now's the time to ask it. Otherwise, we will be signing off and coming back for Friday, where we will talk more about 32-bar chorus form, and we will answer a lot more deep questions. If you need to revisit the questions along the way, the stories, the moments to choose from, like I said, sign up in your email. You'll get all the things by the end of day today. And also revisit the replay, which will be up as soon as we are done here. It'll just live on the channel for now throughout the challenge, so you can revisit and double check everything along the way of your process. That's what I got for you today, friends. Those are the things. I'm excited that you are here. Oh, let me put that link in the chat here, just in case you are not yet signed up for the challenge with your email. Aha, there it is. So that's where you can sign up and get the replays, get the info, get all the Zoom links, because this was the only public one. Don't forget, this is the only public part of the challenge. Everything else will be in Zoom. So that's what we've got today, my friends. I don't see any questions coming in. Oh, you are welcome, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of you who were here live with me. I appreciate you all so very much. Hopefully you learned some good stuff today. I look forward to more things on Friday, and I will plan to see you all then in the Zoom room. All right. Have a great couple of days. See you on Friday.